Hello, everyone. Warmest welcomes to the Holy Comforter Episcopal Church YouTube Bible Study. I'm Jimmy Abbott, the priest here at Holy Comforter Episcopal Church in Spring, Texas. And I have some thoughts and reflections for you on the gospel lesson for the second Sunday of Advent 2020. The text is Mark chapter 1, verses 1 through 8. And I'm just going to read the very beginning of this. The beginning of the good news of Jesus Christ, the Son of God. As it is written in the prophet Isaiah, "See, I am sending my messenger ahead of you, who will prepare your way. The voice of one crying out in the wilderness, prepare the way of the Lord, make his paths straight." So let's do a little Old Testament history and figure out why Mark is quoting there from Isaiah. Now remember, in the year 586 BC, the Babylonians destroyed Jerusalem and took away the people back to Babylon. The whole first section of Isaiah is this sense of woe, this impending destruction. And Isaiah sees the destruction of Jerusalem as the righteous judgment that God is executing upon the people for their sins and for their idolatry. However, in Isaiah chapter 40, there's a twist. And suddenly, Isaiah says, "Comfort, O comfort ye my people." And this text here about preparing the way and the voice of one crying out in the wilderness comes from Isaiah 40. Because Isaiah then switches to say to the people of Jerusalem, be comforted, take heart, trust that the Lord God will deliver you from exile in Babylon back to Jerusalem. So a little of what I think is going on here is that Mark sees that the true return from exile has not yet happened. Though the people from Babylon returned to Jerusalem just 70 years after the destruction of Jerusalem, you can read about that in Nehemiah and Ezra. There's a sense that the full presence of God has not yet returned to God's people. And I think that's what's going on here, is that Mark is saying, this is what's happening. The true return from exile is now upon us. The exile you all have experienced, the exile of sin and death and despair, is now being vanquished because the Lord God is returning. And this messenger, who we'll see here is John the Baptist, goes out to prepare the way, to make the path straight. So I kind of wonder for you in your own life, when have you felt like you were in exile? When has it felt that you were in despair? Maybe it's been this whole year of 2020, this awful, terrible pandemic year. And what hope is God proclaiming to you? And how can you prepare your heart and your ways of life so that you are ready to meet God with joy at Christmas? Thank you so much for joining me. And I'd encourage you to go back and read Isaiah, especially starting there in Isaiah 40. Read this text from Mark, and you will see the great joy and the anticipation that God has for God's people. Thank you.